Hi, I'm Hope. Welcome back. If this setup looks the same shirt, I filmed these on the same day. I did not wear the same shirt multiple days in a row. I promise. For this one, I wanted to talk about books that I absolutely loved. Yes, I have more than just these, but these are the ones that I rave about. And if you haven't read them, you should definitely read them. Um, I recommend these literally every chance I get. First one I want to talk about is actually one that I recommended to my sister, who then recommended to my grandma, I believe. And it is In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. This one, I don't even know how to describe this one, but there's a character in this one that reminded me of my sister. She was like, this character is um, spontaneous. She did whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted. She just grabbed things, reached her goals and everything. And that just reminded me of my sister. So the relationship the main character has with her brought me to tears. And I told my sister, hey, you need to read this because she reminds me of you. My sister read it and I believe she liked it, but she had no idea why I compared the character to her. And it's hard to explain. I think it's just an older sister view of her, like being proud of her achieving her dreams in school and stuff like that. So Um, this one is it can be it's a little weird, I will say that. She does she falls asleep. I think she's taking a nap, but she wakes up like 5 years in the future and her life doesn't look at all like what her life does like in real time. So she's confused. Um, who wouldn't be? But if you haven't read this, definitely recommend this one. Next one I want to talk about is actually The Midnight Library. This was a step out of my comfort zone, I will say, because when I read this, I was also reading a bunch of romance and mystery thriller type books are so easy, in my opinion, to just like go right through. This one made me think, and I honestly believe that I read this at the right time in my life. I will definitely be reading this again. Um, this one is about all the choices you have in life and being stuck on that phrase, like what could I have done differently? Would this have happened? My life may have been better if I did this instead of that, or dated this person instead of that person. This book, I think this book is so underrated. I think this book needs to be read by more people. um, if that if my brief summary made you interested in this, definitely pick this up. It was super good. I loved this one a lot. Next one I want to talk about is, I think this one was actually my first read of 2024. I It's called One True Loves, and I honestly was not sure about this when I started it. I think I when I read the back of it, I was like, okay, I think I can kind of predict what's going to happen here. Um the main female character name's Emma. She's married, but her husband has to go fly to another country and he goes missing for years. She, heals, tries to move on with her life, and then they find him and he's alive. I read this at work. That was my first mistake. Um I started it at work and finished it the same shift. And I remember my coworker being like, "Oh my gosh, you're done with that already?" And the tears in my eyes, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, it must have been so good." I'm not sure if this is like a commonly liked book, but I liked it. And um I think it gave me perspective that I honestly had never thought about before reading this. So if you've read this or haven't read this, you should let me know what you thought and read it if you're interested. This one is actually really funny because I think before I actually like pick up the book to read it, I don't think I'd ever heard of it. My family went on a vacation and we had to take like a 5 hour flight. And on the way back from this vacation, my sister had like two or three books that she brought with her. And this one sparked my interest. And I was like, hey, um, could I like borrow that book and just read it on this flight and give it back to you? Because I didn't own it. And she was like, sure, I'm probably not going to read on this flight, whatever. So I borrowed the book, and on this 5 hour flight, I read the entire book sitting next to my dad, who isn't a reader. And the shock on his face every like 30 or so minutes that he would look over and realize like how much further I was into the book, he would like tap me on the shoulder and be like, "Oh my gosh, is that good? Like, I don't understand how you just haven't stopped reading." And this one I will say has mixed opinions. I have seen people say that they didn't like this book, but I read this on one flight. It it was a 5 hour flight, but um I thought this was amazing. I haven't reread it since, but it would be very interesting to reread it, um, knowing like the plot twist and all the things that happen. But I think this is a good one. If you like the thriller mystery type vibes, I liked this one a lot. Staying on the topic of thriller mystery vibes, Hidden Pictures is probably one of my like top 10 books that I will recommend to literally everyone I can. Um, I made my sister read it. I made my friend Ace read it. I still am trying to get my other sister to read it, but she's more like romance, dark romance. Thriller isn't really her vibe. She's also really freaked out by the drawings that are in the book, which is another thing that's really cool because this book is about like how creepy this kid's drawings get and like what they may mean and all that stuff. But the fact that the book actually shows you the pictures instead of just like verbally written explaining what it looked like, it really draws in that fear and like that feeling inside you while you read. So this one, I don't think I've ever read another book like this. And I will say that after reading this and loving it so much, I looked up the author and he recently came out with another book. I actually have it on my shelf somewhere. The Last One at the Wedding. And I haven't read that, but I don't even know a single thing about that. But because I loved this so much, I bought that like as soon as it came out. Getting back to kind of sappy, heartfelt books, I read this recently and I don't know what I was expecting, to be honest. I was just, oh, it looks interesting. Let's pick it up and read it. Don't read this unless you want to like bawl your eyes out. I'll say that. Cuz this I don't even have words for this. This broke my heart. Um I think I saw a post on like a book group on Facebook recently where somebody was reading this and they were like, I can't keep going. They decided to DNF but like skip to the end to see like what actually happened. And honestly, you do you, but that made me so frustrated. If you're going to DNF, like DNF. But if you're curious of what's going to happen, I feel like you should just read through. But whatever. If you like the sad books and you like a book making you feel things, this one was really good. Yeah, I just don't feel like I can say much about this without giving too much away, but this hurt. One is actually part of a series, second book in the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver. I love the whole series. I will say that. This is my number one out of that entire series. Um, My sister's actually reading the first one right now, and I cannot wait until they get on. But I think both of my sisters are reading it actually. I can't wait till they get to this one, just so um I can hear what they thought and like compare. I like this book is so good. If you're into single father romances, this one's for you. But I will say the rest of the series is very good, so I would just recommend reading the whole series. But this is book two in that series. The next one I want to talk about is actually um, a book that I had on my shelf for a really long time and never picked up until I think 2 years ago. I picked it up, started to read it, and my mind was blown. And I was so mad at myself because it was on my shelf for a while before I actually read it, like actually picked it up to read it. And I'm just mad that it took me that long because I had it for so long before that. But it's Archer's Voice, and this is the special edition because I loved it so much. I actually just went and bought this one. This one's actually really cool because Mia Sheridan actually like annotated inside the book herself, like things that she thought and felt while she was writing and stuff. Like right here is one. But this one, I think the biggest thing is that there is some communicating happening between characters solely in sign language, and my entire family is deaf, so sign language was actually my first language. So I think this was actually the first book I've ever read where there was sign language involved and as like a entire method of communication between characters, not like a side language that somebody knew and mentioned, oh, they know sign language. But I don't know. This one had the potential to break my heart. I think it did make me cry. But it is a happy ending. Um, I love this one a lot. The last book I want to talk about is actually two books, the first and the second. This is considered a YA book, I believe, young adult. But I will say mixed emotions on Goodreads I've seen. This book, I don't think I've ever cried as hard as I did reading this book. I've seen reviews where people were saying, like, oh, it's just kind of kid like. I mean, it's a young adult romance type thing, but like, not to mention at the beginning of this book, I'm not sure if it's actually mentioned. No, it's not. But the Spotify playlist I listened to while reading this, there was a song on that playlist that was like so good. I've never heard a playlist like fit so well with a book before. This book had me crying my I couldn't even I had to put the book down because I couldn't see. Like I don't think I've ever cried as hard as I did reading this book. But I will say there are some things that had happened in this book that I also have experienced. So maybe that's why I cried my eyes out. But this book and the second one, both of them just broke my heart. I cried so hard. If you like books that make you feel things, I recommend these if you're not um, opposed to reading a YA book. Anyways, those are some books that I absolutely love and will continue to recommend. There are plenty of other books that I really love. I don't want to have to just pull them all off my shelf, so I'll put a couple of pictures on the screen somewhere for you to see a couple of the other books that I really, really liked. But if you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment if you also love any of these books or you read them. Um, Tell me your favorite book. I'd love to read some other books that people have thought were really, really good. But again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.